Greetings. Today we're actually going to look at installing some Arizona Victory Police Edition saddlebag guards onto my 2011 cross country. Basically I do a lot of teaching on this, and I like the fact that with those you can pretty much drop it and not worry. I've already got the police skids from them, which are wonderful, and I highly recommend them for anybody who rides across country. Right here, this piece of metal. They're just wonderful additions. You can grind the heck out of them and don't really care. I would recommend powder coating them though before you put them on. They come pretty much rusted in straight steel, but they make a big difference. But right now, here they are. Just got them in. Took me about a good 9 months to get them, but I think they're going to be worthwhile. There they are. They are quite a bit more rugged in design than the stock or the factory ones, being that there's a second bar. This is upside down right now. Being there's a second bar, and the factory ones have like holes all through this. This is just one solid piece, and it seems to be a little thicker, but I'm not positive of that. And they're very nice. The confusing part I'm running into is there's no instructions. It comes with basically 4 bolts, 4 washers, 2 big, thick, looks like aluminum blocks with 2 holes drilled in them. Looks like they'd mount up to here and here. But they also have these 2 skids. This is what I was talking about, the skids for the floorboards. Same kind of unfinished metal. So I'm wondering if they're supposed to go somewhere to grind, or are they just spacers of some sort that are unfinished. I'm not quite sure why they would do 2 aluminum blocks, really nice looking, and 2 unfinished steel. And I can't find online any kind of instructions, so I'm going to have to call up the Arizona guys and see if they can tell me how, or maybe call my local police department, since Plant City and Lakeland I believe have switched over. So I got some buddies riding them in Plant City Police Department. I'm going to call them and ask them if they know. Let's see. Of course, first thing you got to do is remove the saddlebag, which simple can be. Your typical open the trunk. You got these Zeus fitting type setups. Just a twist, and they come undone. Now, some people talk about how sometimes they pop off. I haven't had that problem. I got about 25,000 miles on it. Have never had a problem with them. Somebody said you can basically replace it with any kind of bolt from a hardware store and a captured nut on the back, but then you got to use a wrench to get it off. And so far, these Zeuses are doing fine. So I think I'm going to leave them. So let's go ahead and remove the saddlebag first. All right, there we go. So now we got them off. Basically, looks like it's just going to mount up to these 2 points and that point right there. And then the other piece is somehow going to go under here. I'm not entirely sure how. So we'll figure that out. As for those spacer blocks, I'm really not sure unless they raise it up from here to give you a little more ground clearance. I'm not entirely sure. But being it's really easy to access, we'll just figure it out. While you're in here, it's a good opportunity to check out your belt. Make sure it looks alright. Got a little bit of play. I'm not sure if that's too much or not. I think it is too much. And you can look at the condition of the belt. Make sure she's not looking too worn out or anything. On the underside. And check out the track that it rides in. We can also look at your brakes. I'm looking at my rear brake there. I got a little bit of metal scratching, so I'm thinking I need new pads. As a matter of fact, I looked down there at the other side, and yep, I'm needing new pads. So yeah, I need to get some rear pads on this thing. Which shouldn't be hard. I changed them on an older Victory recently. Now it's a pain in the rear. But I think this one's a lot easier to get to and do. So we'll have to do that as well. Next video. Alright, first step, remove with a 13mm wrench. Front mount. Air tools next time. Then we'll go on to remove the rear too. Quick note, just realize that as soon as you undo these rear ones, it's going to put a lot of weight on the manifolds. I think it might be mounted up here. Well, actually, yeah, all the weight will fall on the pipes. So stick some wood underneath it or a jack stand or anything you want to make it come up. By the way, this is a 4x4 with 2 little 2x4s underneath. They're standard, even though the bike's metric, but I think I figured it out. So So yeah, basically undo the front bolt, undo the rear bolts. I did look at what comes in the package and found these are threaded. The steel ones are threaded. So the fact these are bolts, no nuts, I think they thread into that. So this is going to go underneath, and then this will go on top, the spacer on top, and these run through it. So I figured I'll find out what those are for. So we'll go from there. Alright, I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I can't take that these are plain steel with no coating on them. So I did a quick paint job, not the best paint job in the world, just a quick rattle can with some enamel paint, because I don't really want them rusting on me, causing anything else around to rust. I was looking at the bolts that are on here. There's a helicopter going by, and I want to get some good grade 8 bolts or something. I realized that the one that came off the front right there is an 8.8. And the ones they gave me, they're real small comparatively, but they're also 8.8s. It says SFC 8.8. Basically, that means it's a yield of 85,000 pounds, a tensile strength of 120,000. There's a yield strength of, actually, no, I take it back. Proof, I believe, was 85,000, yields 92,000, and tensiles 120,000. So they're a pretty heavy-duty bolt, even though they're tiny, skinny little boogers compared to the one that comes off the front, or even the one that comes off of it. The one that came off of it's a pretty stubby little guy. It's also an 8.8. But the fact now is it's going to have to go through the layer of chrome from the rack itself. Go through these two, and the nut. It's got a captured nut down here for the fat one that came off. This one's going to have to use that bracket I painted to go through it. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to figure how is that going to grab onto the bottom of this. I'm a little confused again how I'm going to get that on there to stay. But we'll figure it out here in a second. Alright, now I'm confused. There's a good chance I got this completely wrong. I'm thinking that this actually, the block goes here, mounts to the hole with the threaded behind it. I just realized there's no way to use that threaded plate here because the lock nuts aren't going to line up. So the rear chromoly is going to go here with a stock 8/8, I believe. And then this is going to use it for the side, mount the side piece right here with the threaded piece behind it. And that's how it's going to mount in the middle. That's what it is. And that explains a lot, so I couldn't figure out how I was going to capture or get down here to the big captured bolts. Now I get it better. So let me trial fit it and see how it turns out. Alright, now there's the trial fit. And yep, I think I was right. If you don't see where I just screwed up and try to mount the spacer plates on the wrong spot, that means I did a good job of editing. If I can't figure out how to edit, you'll see the whole thing. Yeah, so basically, one bolt put back into here, I've got it temporarily holding it. You're going to put the stock bolts back in here, the little stubby grade 8s, and then use a spacer with a washer and a little 8.8 nut. Go into there with the backing plate with this threaded that I've already painted, and they're just sitting there drying. So let me get those off the drying rack and we'll bring it on over. Alright, to get a quick close-up here. First of all, you don't have to, but it's easier to take this off. You just lift up on this end and slide it out. There's a little tongue groove thing there. Just chamfer. It's cut out as a key shape, a keyhole shape. Just get it out of the way. That plate I was talking about I painted, it's going to go back behind this, in there and through. And this is going to mount right there, in between those two pieces. Just a washer, nut, bolt. This is basically the nut. And then of course the back, we're just going to put those back on, sitting on top of the bracket, and this one up here is going to be going back in. And that's it. Let's give it a shot. Pretty simple. Alright, and there she goes, mounted up this side. The front bolt was kind of easy. Actually, I haven't finished tightening that down. I think about it. I'll tighten that down a little bit more. I did that, tightened that pretty much last. I haven't done it yet. These two, gotta watch. Turns out the nuts are kind of small. The bolts are kind of small. They're almost the size of the opening, not quite, but almost. So the washers, I had to make sure I lifted them up as I tightened it down. It was a kind of tight fit, because right now the bolts are so long that it's actually, I think it's touching the inside of the muffler. But it still is just perfect. I got it just right. You can see in there the black painted piece. That's the big nut spacer, and then here's the big outside spacer. So it turned out kind of nice, and you slip this thing back on. Now my rear bolts, for some reason, I got one bolt that's gone bad. This one here, it didn't want to line up. It's kind of crooked, and no matter which hole I put it in, it didn't want to quite go straight. So you can see it's kind of slanted. It's not the nuts problem underneath, it's the bolt itself. But it's on there good and tight. I might have to go find another bolt to replace it. But this one went in nice and clean. And boy, is she rigid. That is one solid mount. I like it. So now let's put the bag on and see how it looks. And there we go. Put the saddlebag in. I had a little trouble with the Zeus fitting. One of the Zeus fittings actually hooked onto the outer rim of the circle and pulled the whole Zeus, or hooked into the Zeus fitting itself. I had to pull the whole thing out, rebend it into shape, and put it back in again. But she looks nice and sturdy as a son of a gun. You can jump on this thing and it does not move. Good stuff. Now to start on the other side. For this side, should be basically the same process, just the other side. Once again, to review, let's come over here. We're going to remove this bolt, 2 bolts back here. Pull this rubber cap off. Make it easier to get into that section right there. I always like to towel everything off once I get the bolts off anyway, as much as you can. And trowel fit it, stick a plate in, and put it together. And you get the rack here. Alright, well, we got it on. Once again, tighten the front bolt. Of the rear two, once again, I had one of them slightly out of line, so slightly cross-threaded. I couldn't get it to line up. I think the chrome bracket isn't exactly the width. The holes in the chrome bracket aren't exactly the width of the bolts on the frame. They do have it slotted front to back, but you need it slotted side to side. So I think they kind of messed that up a little bit. Each side both has one that's slightly cross-threaded. I don't quite like that, but I'll have to figure it out. And then tighten down these two. Just a pointer, these two here are 10 millimeters, and these 3 are 13 millimeter. So then put this guy back in, just slide it right on, and you're done. Now to get my saddlebag and put it back in here, and the process is complete. I did find another dilemma. On this side, the aluminum block sitting a little higher than it did on the other side, and the rubber padding curves over on the ends, and now it's been lifted up a little bit, so I might have a little trouble getting the saddlebag to sit properly. I might just have to cut about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch off of this rubber padding before I put the saddlebag back on. I'm going to try and mount it first and see how it works, and then go from there. Well, correction, it mounted no problem. It actually mounted a lot easier than the other side. But now she's all done. She's all mounted up, good and sturdy, and they look nice. Never thought I'd say it, but I can't wait to take it for a spin and grind it down to a stop on its side. See how she handles. Beautiful design. I love how the points come back. As you can see, the difference between the stock bars and these bars is this upper one. Comes down with a cross support here. And I believe it looks...
Sorry I lost the ending there, but go ride, be safe, and we'll be praying for you. God bless.